you for joining us for this joint luncheon. Please stand for the invocation followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
It just says
Heavenly Father, families, community, and nation with respect and integrity. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Today, we have 5 sponsors. Our first is Red. Please help me welcome the Chief Financial Officer, Mr. Peter Louvier.
Well, good afternoon. Thank you to our regional chambers and SCIA for bringing the Bayou region together for lunch today. On behalf of REV's leadership team, it's an honor to be up here and share with you some of our milestones for 2025. One milestone that wouldn't have been possible without the support of many of the folks in this room is our continued growth in the Thibodeau and Houma markets in 2024. We plan to continue this momentum into 2025 as we continue to meet the growing demand from our customers in Lafourche and Terrebonne parishes. A high point for this year will be us celebrating 90 years of serving South Louisiana with telecommunications services, which includes partnering with local leadership to build service-resilient communities and businesses, improving our own technology and network to meet the needs of ever-changing demands from our residential and business customers, bringing critical connectivity to essential businesses in healthcare, government, law enforcement, education, and E911, to name a few, and supporting community partners and nonprofits that share the same mission as REV does. But central to all of this and all of these milestones has always been one common denominator, and that's people. Just like our founders in 1935, REV's mission today remains rooted in our localism and focused on our people, building lasting relationships along the way. We've been doing business this way for 90 years, and we're just as excited about the next 90 years, and are proud with our communities endorsing us as our local communications provider, then, now, and tomorrow. And as we say around the office, we're just getting started. Thank you for trusting us in your home and businesses and empowering us to continue REV's 90-year legacy as your local provider of choice for telecommunications. At this point, we'll turn it back over to Jared.
I'm Jared David with Nicholls State University and the 2025 chair of the Lafourche Chamber. Let's give a warm welcome to our elected officials and distinguished guests who are with us today. Please hold your applause until all of them have been introduced. Louisiana Senator Mike Facey, Louisiana Representative Jessica Domang, Bessie District 3 Board Member Ms. Sandy Holloway, Lafourche Parish President Archie Chasson, Terrebonne Parish President Jason Bergeron, Terrebonne Parish Sheriff Tim Soignet, Lafourche Parish Assessor Wendy Thibodeau, Terrebonne Parish Council Member Clyde Hamner, Berwick Mayor Duval Arthur, Morgan City Mayor Lee Dragna, Baldwin Mayor Clarence Vappy, St. Mary Parish School Board Member and SLCC Young Memorial Campus Director Tammy Wilson, Lafourche Parish School Board Member Marian Fertitta, members of the Greater Lafourche Port Commissioners, John Melanson Jr., Chris Calle, Chucky Sheremy, Rodney Gisclair Sr., Reggie Leday, Chad Calle, Jimmy LaFont, Mike Calle, and Tom Petrie. From Fletcher Technical Community College, Chancellor Dr. Christine Strickland, Nicholls State University President Dr. Jay Clune, Terrebonne Parish School Superintendent Bubba Orgeron, Lafourche Parish School Superintendent Jared Martin, Greater Lafourche Port Commission Executive Director Chet Chasson, Board President of Commissioners for Terrebonne Parish Levy and Conservation District and Chairman of the Governor's Advisory Commission, Mr. Tony Alford, with the Governor with Governor Landry's office, Doug Sheremy, with U.S. Senator John Kennedy's office, Caroline Theriault, with U.S. Congressman Steve Scalise's office, Fred Trowbridge, and finally with Louisiana Senator Robert Allen III's office, Ms. Laura Meadows. Let's give them a warm round of applause. Our next sponsor is Gobert Oil Company. Please welcome Chief Operating Officer Brian Vail to the podium to say a few words.
Good afternoon. How y'all doing today? I'm Brian Vail with Gobert Oil Company, and it's an honor for us to sponsor today's luncheon. Gobert Oil is proud to call South Louisiana home. For 99 years, we've been in the business of keeping this region moving, supplying fuel, lubricants, chemicals, services, and convenience to everything from sugar mills and shrimp boats to school buses and locals. But we're more than just a fuel company. We're a family-owned business that believes in investing in our people and our community. We employ over 400 hardworking men and women right here in the region, and we take pride in creating good jobs and supporting local families. We also believe that strong communities require strong partnerships between businesses, local government, and our elected officials. That's why we're proud to support events like today's luncheon, bringing people together to have real conversations about the future of our region. On behalf of everyone at Gobert Oil Company, thank you for the opportunity to be part of today's event and for allowing us to continue serving this great community. Thank you. I also have the privilege of serving as the 2025 chair of the Thibodaux Chamber of Commerce. This luncheon is a collaboration between Nahoma Terrebonne, Lafourche, St. Mary, Thibodaux Chambers of Commerce, and the South Central Industrial Association. I'd like to invite the board of directors from each group to stand and be recognized from each organization. Let's give them a round of applause. Our next sponsor for this luncheon is Delta Coast Consultants. Let's welcome Mitch Marmon to the podium to say a few words.
Thank you all. I don't have something so elegantly planned like these other gentlemen. A lot of you in here know about our company, Delta Coast. We work very strongly in the hurricane protection and coastal restoration region, but the real heroes of my company are up here front. If Kenny and Prosper and Kevin would stand, these are guys that make it work for me, both environmentally, surveying, engineering. That's kind of our head people doing that type of thing, and I like to recognize them whenever I can, and also like to recognize the wonderful collaboration that we have here today with these areas, St. Mary, Terrebonne, and Lafourche. I know when I was on SCIA, we worked very hard to try to bring this region together because we have so much in common. And I think through Congressman Higgins now, being from a little further west, he's drawn us together now, and I've had the pleasure of working with him in Washington on Morganza to the Gulf, and he's been a real asset to us so far. He has a wonderful relationship with the Corps of Engineers, and they can speak military. Unfortunately, in my 20 years working on Morganza, I have not figured out how to speak with the Corps yet, but we will follow guidance when taught. But thank you for the opportunity to sponsor. It's great to have you all in this room, and we look forward to continue serving this region, providing protection and getting Morganza done, and with all the people that we do work with here. Thank you for having us.
Good afternoon. I am Brady Borrell with KQKI radio station and the 2025 chair of the St. Mary Chamber of Commerce. At this time, we would like to call to the stage our fourth sponsor, Terracon, represented by Robert Billot. Please welcome them.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Robert Billiot with Terracon Consultants. Our office is located in Jefferson Parish, right outside of New Orleans. I think Hillary's going to pull something up for me. But I'll just go ahead. We're Terracon Consultants. We're actually we have our 60th anniversary this year. Our headquarters is located in Kansas, but we have 4 offices here in Louisiana, one in New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Lake Charles, and Shreveport. We employ over 100 people in our great state. But overall with Terracon, we have 7,000 plus employees, 180 office locations, and we're a 100% employee-owned company. Getting into our market sectors, we can do work with anyone, whether it's federal, oil and gas, power generation, healthcare, transportation and infrastructure, financial, legal, investment, logistics, commercial, or in the technology world. In the our top 500, we like to let everybody know that in 2024 we were ranked number 2 in asbestos and lead abatement. The environmental department that we have in New Orleans is absolutely top notch, and we'd love to work with y'all. Just to let y'all know, our services that we do provide, we provide facility services, building enclosure, facility condition assessments, environmental services. We have environmental professionals on staff, asbestos and lead services, like I said. Also, we do help parishes, local governments go after federal, state grant money. We help people with brownfield grants and site redevelopments. We also provide geotechnical services, so we do all that in-house with our rigs and our accredited laboratories, and we also provide materials testing services. So anytime you would have a project, we can be on your project from the very beginning when you're thinking about where you would like to put your new building or bring your company all the way through to completion. And one thing we always like to talk about is our reporting that we have. Anytime you have a project anywhere in the United States, it's all found on our website, and you're able to pull up this digital data and you can see any project that you have. But in closing, we are a brand new member to SCIA, and we appreciate the opportunity to be here and sponsor this lunch. And if you would like to learn any more about our company, we have cards on the table, and we'd be more than happy to come by your office and speak to you. Thank you for the opportunity.
Our final sponsor today is the Chitimacha Tribe of Louisiana. Help me welcome Chairman Melissa Darden to the podium to say a few words.
Ashti. Hello. Can everyone hear me?
I can hear you.
This? Okay. Should I hold it?
Yes.
Ashti. Hello. Good afternoon. It's an honor to be here with you today. My name is Melissa Darden. I am the Chitimacha Tribal Chairman. I am now serving in my 4th term. Chitimacha Tribe has approximately 1,660 tribal members. We have approximately 1,000 acres of land, and we are the only tribe that sits on our Aboriginal homelands in Louisiana. We offer a variety of services to our community. We have our police department, which serves our community plus the surrounding communities. We have a court system. Fire department, which is a paid fire department that also serves our community and the surrounding area. On reservation, we have a recreation department, which also serves the community, which, when I say community, it's non-tribal members off reservation. We don't discriminate. We offer programs, and they're allowed to come and bring their kids play ball, soccer, whatever it is we have going on. They're welcome to join in. We have an early learning center that has children there from 6 weeks to 3 years old. We have our own tribal school, which offers grades pre-K through 8th grade. We have a River Cane Senior Center that we offer, of course, entertainment for our seniors, bingo, that live entertainment. And we do offer them free meals Monday through Friday for lunch. We have a health clinic that serves our tribal members, which we also serve non-tribal members. They're all welcome. We have housed in our clinic, we have a pharmacy. And unfortunately that we can only serve our community, but we look forward to when we can serve all the surrounding area. We have a cultural department with a museum, so that if anyone would like to come out and visit us, you're welcome to come and see what we're all about. We have a housing and development department where we have our own. We've been developing many different little subdivisions because the tribe is growing. Unfortunately, we don't have a very large tax base to help support all of these, so that's where our businesses come into play. And most of us know of us as Cypress Bayou Casino, but we are so much more than that. In the last several decades, we went from having a tribal school, we excelled from there with a learning center, and then we were the first land-based casino here in Louisiana. Now our enterprises include, of course, Cypress Bayou Casino Hotel. We have Raintree Market. We're in the process of opening a second Raintree Market grocery store in Generette. And we have Raintree Village, which is a master plan development just off the reservation. We have a business called Keta Group, which is based in Baton Rouge. It is a government contracting company. We have also TIA Support Services, another government contracting company. Colorado Professional Resources, which is a technical support company that supports the U.S. Department of Defense. It is based out in Colorado. We have YT Services, which is a certified hub zone. So we are one of the largest employers in St. Mary Parish. So that's kind of how we get most of our programs funded. And we are always open to working with the parishes around us to make this a better place for us and everyone. Thank you.
Hillary, had I known you were going to put me between the radio guy and a sitting congressman, I probably would have taken longer to get here from Baton Rouge. So, good afternoon, everybody. For those who don't know, my name is Matthew Newchurch. I'm the sitting executive vice president of SCIA. Our illustrious president, J.J. Bouquet, is somewhere between Greece and Italy. We think, we're not sure. We haven't seen him in a couple months. We wish him the best, but certainly wish he was here as well. So without any further ado, to introduce our speaker, obviously Congressman Clay Higgins represents Louisiana's 3rd District in the U.S. House of Representatives. Before his election to public office, Higgins spent much of his career dedicated to uniformed service. He is an Army veteran and law enforcement officer, maintaining an active commission and Louisiana State Post certification. So thank you for your service. Congressman Higgins is widely regarded as one of the most conservative members of Congress and is a core member of the House Freedom Caucus. He serves, he serves on the House Homeland Security Committee. Congressman Higgins also serves as a senior member of the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee and as chairman of the Federal Law Enforcement Subcommittee, where he investigates corruption at the highest levels of government, which, if you don't follow that, is really, really interesting and is really cool. Again, thank you again. Additionally, Congressman Higgins is a member of the Armed Services Committee, serving on the Sea Power and Projection Force Subcommittee. Congressman Higgins has worked to advance constitutionalist principles and advocate for the people of South Louisiana. He has also been recognized as a champion for smaller government, lower taxes, secure borders, and individual freedoms. The Center for Effective Lawmaking has ranked Congressman Higgins as one of the most effective Republican legislators in the U.S. House of Representatives. Congressman Higgins is honored to serve the people of South Louisiana. He resides in Lafayette with his wife, Becca. And if you will please, a warm welcome and helping me welcome Congressman Clay Higgins.
It was a very kind introduction. I'm very honored to address you all. As I look across the room, just reading the room and observing the spirits of the men and women present here is striking. It's a room full of dedicated, patriot, loving, hardworking, compassionate, Christian men and women of distinguished accomplishment. So when I tell you that I'm humbled to serve as your congressman, and I'm honored to speak to you today, I mean that from my heart. The 3rd District stretches from the Texas border now through Houma and Thibodaux. I have 11 parishes, and as most of you know, my service in D.C. requires me to be present in D.C., but I fly home every weekend, and I keep myself very well grounded and accessible and transparent to the people that I've sworn to serve. So I have a brief opening statement, and I'm going to open the floor for questions if that's okay. Who's in charge here? Is usually a woman. Later, in a few minutes, I can open the floor for questions, ma'am? Yes, ma'am. I'm the 7th of 8 children. I have 6 sisters, so I have learned through the course of my life just to say yes, ma'am on a regular basis is quite effective. So we're in a fascinating time in American history. We're, almost 250 years into this thing, and there have been tremendous forces attempted to defeat our individual rights, liberties, and freedoms as American citizens. There has been, through the course of our history, concerted effort from major powers across the planet to defeat our country and to, in some way, prove that this beautiful experiment, which had never happened in the history of mankind, to establish a government that's actually run by the people. There's been an ongoing effort, has there not, for 250 years to set this country straight from the perspective of the historical model of the way things are supposed to be, with governments have linear control and vertical power structures, and they command the people and tell us what to do, how to live, where to live, how to work, etc. So some of us constitutionalists in Congress and across the land, we are dedicated to preserving what our founders envisioned and what they gave birth to in this beautiful country that we love, and that flag that waves in glory above us all. We are bound by the power of our own history, good and bad. It's our history. It belongs to us. We built this thing. This country has been through many struggles. Some we brought upon ourselves. We've overcome those struggles. And we have an incredible power to face adversity and find that illuminated path that the Lord prepares for us as a nation and follow it. And that doesn't eliminate struggle, does it? Quite to the contrary. You know, the forces of the world are real, and they still oppose us as a nation, as a people. They oppose our freedoms. They oppose our liberties. They oppose our rights. And one of the great challenges that we face as a people as we seek, like, what is the right thing to do in any given circumstance or consideration, we have to reflect upon, you know, what it is to be an American. What is our duty? How are we bound by honor to fulfill the legacy that we have inherited, to preserve freedoms and liberties and rights for the next generation and generations yet unborn? It's a great responsibility, and I take my job quite seriously as your servant in your House of Representatives, because it is your House of Representatives, and we are a representative republic. We are a union of sovereign states, and the federal government, from a constitutionalist perspective, which is my perspective, in my opinion, and I will humbly listen to alternate opinions. I have for the course of my life. That's how I was raised. But I'm quite solid in my core principles, and I make no apologies for being a principled man, for being a Christian man, and for being a constitutionalist, conservative Republican. Make no apologies about that, although I respect your opinion and your perspective if it alters from mine. But as a constitutionalist, I believe that your federal government should be a partner to your endeavors as a free American citizen, not a predator upon you as an American citizen. The federal government should assist you, not oppress you. Federal laws should be few and far between, every one of which should be designed to help the sovereign states and the citizens thereof. For your businesses, your banks, your transportation, every endeavor that Americans engage where there's an intersection with the federal government, you should be assisted. Certainly, you should not be oppressed. The federal government should not be an obstacle to your endeavors. We should have faith in each other as American citizens, that we're driven by perfect intent, shall we say, as were our founders. Imperfect men driven by perfect intent. So we should not presume that a fellow American has nefarious intent with that endeavor. The federal government should not be hovering above every aspect of your life as an individual or as a business owner, as representative of a government entity. The federal government should not be leaning over your shoulder, controlling and micromanaging everything that you do. In my opinion, federal government should mostly be the hell out of your way. And that's the core principles that I brought to Washington, D.C. I recognize that, the fact that I'm your representatives, it's a new deal for Terrebonne and Lafourche. St. Mary is quite familiar with me, and you have friends and family there. But I will be, and there's no fear in my office. My boot will go through the chest of any bureaucrat that stands in your way. And we have proven that for 9 years. We'll do so respectfully and diplomatically and professionally, but we will not tolerate a federal interaction with you and your life that interferes with you and your life. We'll follow the law, yes, but we're not going to tolerate an oppressive interaction between your federal government and your personal life and your business. So I felt it was important to sort of touch upon what you can expect from our office. We're fully staffed in D.C., Lafayette, and Lake Charles, and we have identified an office in Houma. We'll be opening an office in Houma. That deal's not quite done yet, but my office is ready. We're poised and ready to open that office and furnish it, and you'll have physical representation here. But we're certainly accessible to you in every way, and that's the way this thing should be. I'm a regular American man. I'm a humble man of humble background. My wife and I don't come from money. I never in my life had anticipated serving my country congressionally, but I am a servant. It's in my nature. I was enlisted in the Army. I was a military police officer, served honorably. I was a civilian police officer, as most of you know. So it's just in my nature to serve my fellow man. And that formula has worked quite well in Congress. Our office is highly regarded and quite successful. But we're successful by the measure of, do we serve we the people? And we do. The guiding principles being our Christian compassion and love and courage, and our Constitution, the writ of our Constitution, the founder's intent as expressed in our founding documents, including the Federalist Letters, and these are documents that I'm very familiar with. And, when you don't have to take a poll to determine what your position is on something, then it's quite easy to know what the right thing to do is. You listen carefully to the advice that the Lord places in your path from the experts in the field and the citizens that you serve. And we do. We will listen quite carefully to your counsel, to your congressional office, and we'll factor all of that in. I'll determine what I believe is the right thing to do for a vote or a committee investigation, what have you. And then I'll pray about it. I'll pray about it, and generally speaking, the Lord is quite clear with the illumination of what is the righteous stance on something. So when you have a principled and righteous position that's been carefully studied and researched, and you listen to the advice of the citizens that you serve, then things work pretty well in this beautiful nation of ours. So Houma and Thibodaux, St. Mary as particular projects that are incredibly important. Morganza to the Gulf is a complex system. We're working right now with your port to identify the exact process to move forward for expansion of the ship channel, widening and deepening. We have successfully done that kind of work in the 3rd District parameters prior to my service to Terrebonne and Lafourche. So we're familiar with that process and how it works. Your flood mitigation and water management projects, we're well versed on, and we have met with your chosen representatives for those particular projects and endeavors. We have constant communications and meetings with the Corps of Engineers. As the gentleman stated, we have an excellent relationship with the Corps that we've cultivated over the course of 9 years. So I stand before you honored and humbled to serve you, and that is my perspective, that I serve you. So I'm going to open the floor for questions. You can ask me about anything at all, But I'm not sure what the process will be for recognizing those questioning. Good lady?
We have a mic there.
Oh, we have a mic here. Okay. There we go. So, somebody get it started. I can probably hear you. Oh, yeah, got a room full of experts. Somebody got questions. Get it started here. Is it the gentleman? Is it gentleman? So 1 and 2. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Congressman. Can you, on Repollute with Organza Action Coalition, thank you for your support on the Organza to the Gulf project. What are your thoughts on the odds of, Congress coming to pass a budget bill for the new fiscal year coming up? Just knowing that, earmarks generally get attached to that, and I know this year, we weren't able to get the earmarks, and I understand that, but how do you see the process?
Sure, let me address that. The gentleman referencing what he called earmarks, called community funding projects, and in a broader sense, he asked regarding, what the hell is Congress doing about the budget? And are we going to pass an actual budget, or we're stuck on CR? CR, continuing resolution, doesn't really work very well for stability of projects and harvesting of investors for private projects. Essentially, the entire world from a free enterprise perspective is looking for stability. The prices up or down they can deal with, but they're looking for some sense of stability for investment in a project. It's very difficult to move forward with many things if you don't know what Congress is going to do with a budget. So your 2025 budget is handled with a CR that goes through the end of the fiscal year. Your 2026 budget, we're writing those appropriations right now. And through the process called reconciliation, which is a rarely available legislative mechanism that requires one party to have control, to have majority control of the House, the Senate, and the White House, or else reconciliation will not work. This is where the Senate writes a budget and the House writes a budget, primarily the House. But the House and the Senate writes a budget. We have a budget resolution. That's what we battled through the last couple of weeks. We passed last Thursday, and it was a hell of a battle because we're endeavoring to decrease federal spending, to change the trajectory of federal spending that could eventually lead our nation back to a balanced budget, because we are so far out of whack with our deficit spending every year and the accumulation of incredible debt for our country. So our budget right now for 2025, we're running on a continuing resolution. Then the appropriations and the funding for 2026, the funding committees, the committees of authorization and appropriation are writing that legislation as we speak for 2026. That will all be passed through the House by the end of July or sooner. And that budget will, for the first time, those appropriations bills, for the first time in decades, will decrease spending at the federal level. And not by a great deal, not by a huge amount as compared to our deficit, because we're running over $2 trillion of deficit per year since COVID. This has all been born since COVID. Does anyone here, if you put your mind back to 2019, most of you are in business and service in some way to your community, 2019, and consider 2019. Do any of you believe that the federal government was too small in 2019? I mean, it was a leviathan. And the expense of the federal government has almost doubled since then. This is why you're running $2.5 trillion deficits right now. It's why you have a $36 trillion debt. So we must change the trajectory of spending. You don't have to balance the budget in 1 year. You can't do that. They'd put me in front of a firing squad, man, if we try to balance a budget in 1 year. You can't do it. It's too deep. We're too deep in deficit. But we are a wealthy and powerful nation with an extremely vibrant gross domestic product, basically the annual measurement of our performance as a nation economically. So our GDP, when we're rolling, is like easily leads the world. So we are a wealthy, vibrant nation. So we can deal with debt. We can deal with debt, but you got to stop going deeper and deeper into debt every year. Because we have to change the trajectory of spending. So to the gentleman's question, the 2026 budget, both authorization and appropriation, is being written right now by every committee that plays a role in authorization and appropriation in both the House and the Senate. And we are writing those budgets to a $1.5 trillion decrease in spending. But that decrease in spending is over the course of 10 years. So when you hear politicians talk to a group about we're cutting spending by $1.5 trillion, and they're talking to a conservative group, those politicians, they deliver that message like that, and the conservatives go, yay. If it's a liberal politician, they're talking to a liberal group, the liberal group goes, boo. But neither is truly accurate. Listen to your Uncle Clay. When these guys are talking about cutting spending by $1.5 trillion, they're talking about over 10 years. And it was like a blood fight in Congress last week to get that commitment from the House and the Senate. One pretty small group of conservatives drew a line and said, we'll stop this whole thing from moving forward if the Senate does not agree with the House commitment in our budget resolution to decrease spending on the 10-year score by $1.5 trillion, which is only $150 billion a year compared to a $2.5 trillion deficit you're running every year. So it's just it's like you're breaking the seal in D.C. on this model that D.C. has followed for decades, which no matter who's in charge, Democrats, Republicans, everybody's growing the government. The D.C. has been devouring your wealth, the wealth of your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. They've been treading upon your rights, your individual rights, liberties, and freedoms, and devouring your wealth and your future. So we have to change the trajectory away from where we're precipitously headed towards bankruptcy. And this budget does that. And I will be on the front lines battling to make certain that your House and your Senate fulfills its promise, which we have delivered in writing in the budget resolution we just passed last week, that we will slightly decrease spending at the federal level to change the trajectory of spending so that the whole world will breathe a sigh of relief and go, okay, America is steering away from bankruptcy and we're going to be okay. That's happening right now, and you're going to read a lot about it, but just keep in mind, let me put this in perspective, I'll move on to the next question. We have a $36 trillion debt. A trillion is 1,000 billion. A billion is 1,000 million. So if your Congress was to balance the budget, and we're $2 trillion away from that, right? If we were to balance the budget and run a $1 billion surplus, it would require 36,000 years to address your $36 trillion debt. That's how dire your federal spending is. And we don't have a revenue problem. We have tremendous revenue. In fact, if you'd had flatline spending since 2019, you'd almost have a balanced budget right now. And we can easily identify $150 billion a year in waste, fraud, abuse, and theft at the federal level. So nobody's talking about decreasing services. I hear that all the time. That's not happening. We're absolutely going to decrease you to 100% unemployed if you are a federal bureaucrat that's not doing your job. You could expect that we're going to decrease you in your job if you're not doing it. Or if the service that you allegedly are providing is not actually a service to we the people, then you can expect that your whole department might get eliminated. But we are not decreasing actual services to we the people and to the sovereign states. So the budget, wow, out the gates. I don't like Homer Thibodeau. You guys come out the gates. My father used to say the way a horse leaves the gate is the way it's going to run. So that means that the gentleman's question means that we're going to have smart questions at this gathering today. That covered a lot: the budget, the deficit, our debt, what we're doing. Maybe answered a bunch of questions. The gentleman in the yellow shirt had a question. I don't know, is it lady in red? Yes, ma'am.
Representative Higgins, I just want a few things. My name is Sharon Blanchard. I live with the People Bayou community here in this terrible Lafourche area. Also, I'm a board member of the state of Louisiana for the Southern Shrimp Alliance. It's a state coalition representing the U.S. shrimp industry. And I wanted to thank you for your introducing the Destruction of Hazardous Imports Act yesterday, and also for co-sponsoring the Save Our Shrimpers Act with Representative Nels. And I wanted to ask you, do you have any status updates on the Save Our Shrimpers Act? Something that we can do. I know it's in the Financial Services Committee now. Is there anything that we can do to contact that committee? And also, I know this is a lot of stuff. The Salterson Kennedy Act funds are going to NOAA, and they're supposed to be going to uphold the infrastructure for the U.S. shrimp industry. Do y'all have any plans to do anything about redirecting those funds back into the industry?
So both of your questions at the end are about the shrimp industry, the seafood industry, correct?
Yes, sir.
So the legislation, which says more than one bill, let me go ahead and answer the lady's question. And thank you, ma'am, for your kindness. The seafood industry across the country, of course, I represent Louisiana, but by extension, I represent every American. That's the way this thing works. But my focus is on the people of South Louisiana. This is where I was born and raised and live, and it's the citizenry that voted me into office. So yes, I represent the entire American citizenry, and I'm real serious about it, but I'm quite partial to my people in Louisiana. So this addressing the issues that the seafood industry has faced in Louisiana, has allowed me to, the fix for Louisiana fixes the seafood industry for the whole country. And the problem really for the industry, as you folks know better than most, is imports. It imported seafood by the billions and billions of pounds every year. Is a relatively new phenomena because of flash freezing, because of processing technology that didn't exist 20 years ago. The whole world, the flash freezing, it worked well for us in Louisiana and our seafood industry, because we were all of a sudden able to ship stuff across the country to restaurants that 25 years ago, they didn't have shrimp on the menu. And now they've learned how to cook it. The chefs largely trained, and the best chefs in the world are trained right here in South Louisiana. So you have chefs with restaurants all over the country. They love the idea of being able to get excellent shrimp from Louisiana. So flash freezing worked well, and processing and shipping that stuff across the country worked well for us. But the rest of the world was investing in that technology as well. So all of a sudden, you had imports coming in from overseas that was based upon laws the federal laws that predated the technology of flash freezing. It wasn't a problem when you had India or anybody else importing seafood into our country, because they weren't importing seafood into our country. It couldn't make the ride. But with the technology in the last couple of decades has greatly changed things. So laws have been slow to catch up with the technology. In the meantime, the seafood industry in the entire country, and nowhere more so than the seafood industry in South Louisiana, has been smashed by imports. So we have written laws and taken quite aggressive action now that we have a president that is willing to take aggressive action to protect American interests, which the prior administration was not. But now we do, not to disparage the prior administration. That's not my style. I'm just saying you have an executive administration now who's using executive authority to push back on billions of pounds of seafood being brought into our country. And one of the issues with the seafood being brought into our country, good ladies and gentlemen, is that it's not really safe. Like, the only reason you don't get sick primarily is because we're cooking it. But it has biological and chemical elements that can be harmful. And this stuff is not raised, farmed, harvested, processed, packaged, and shipped according to American standards. And many of these countries are using what could easily be described as slave labor and child labor to farm this stuff and grow it and harvest it and process it and package it and ship it here. So it has greatly injured our economy for the seafood industry across the country, in which case you got to push back on it. The product is arguably unhealthy for Americans to consume, in which case you got to push back on it. And the seafood industry in South Louisiana deserves a right to have a level playing field. That's all my seafood guys ask for. To give us a level playing field and we'll win. And I believe that. So now that we have partnership with the executive branch, the president writing executive orders that match our legislative work, you'll find me and my office at the lead of that legislation. So we're doing our best to push the legislative bills through, and the president writing executive orders that supports the spirit and the letter of the law behind our legislation helps us move our legislation. Even though the president doesn't have a vote in Congress, he does have a voice in Congress. So politicians that are like, wishy-washy, when they see the president lean forward with something, that's very helpful to those of us that have written legislation to do meaningful work for our people, like our seafood bills. So I hope that answers your question, ma'am. We should see movement on those bills in this Congress.
Congressman, this is the last question.
I was interested to what you believe is the most important issue our country is faced with right now, and what we can do about it.
Yes, ma'am. That's a big question. I would say there's a few categories that we have largely already addressing. Our budget and our debt we've discussed. Let me say that you have a commitment from me as your congressional servant that everything we're doing legislatively and partnered with the executive branch, and I'm close to the president. I talk to him on a regular basis, and we don't hang out because he's a billionaire and I'm not. But we do. If I call him, he answers the phone, or he calls me right back. So I do have a voice and a seat at those tables within the executive, but we're partnered together to address our biggest issues. And one is our budget, which, our deficit spending, waste, fraud, abuse, and outright theft, and money laundering that has been going on in our country for a long time, man. They've been stealing our treasure, and we're getting zero back for it. And we're identifying that stuff and smashing it. And the machine that has been devouring that treasure is freaking out that we've identified and are identifying their little honeypots, and we're shutting them down. So there's tremendous leading that fight. But we've addressed that. Our border was like an arterial bleed in our country, required immediate action, but it's already been handled. I've been saying for 4 years, you don't need new laws, you need to enforce the laws we already have. So we had 15 million illegals come into our country in 4 years. It's absolute arterial bleed for our country. We shut it down in 2 weeks. Basically, I almost at zero now of crossing. So nothing has changed. You still have the same 1,954 miles of southern border, every mile of which I have scouted by airplane, by helicopter, by boat, by four-wheel drive vehicle, on horseback and on foot. Your congressman has been through every mile of that border over the course of 9 years. It's the same border patrol, same men and women wearing the same uniforms, driving the same vehicles, driving on the same roads. You have the same laws. So how did the president shut down the border traffic in 2 weeks? In case you have any doubt that it was policy that was allowing, it was executive policy that was allowing this traffic of drugs and human beings, most horrible stuff you've ever seen in your life, we were allowing as a nation. We've lost 300,000 American lives. Now the number one killer for the previous 4 years of Americans 18 to 45 is opioid poisoning. Most of that was fentanyl, came from across our southern border. So our border was an arterial bleed, man, but we've largely fixed it. Now Congress has to has to support the president's work down there, but we've largely addressed that. Our budget, we're going to address in this budget and in the 2027 budget. So the 2026 and 2027, there's going to be serious battles over our budget, and I'll be in the middle of it. I believe, Madam, and I'll close with this, I think that compassionate and respectful communication is one of the greatest challenges we seem to find ourselves, mired on the wrong side of as a country. I think that we should, like my family, for instance, I mentioned I'm the seventh of eight. My family covers every shade of political ideology. My amazing brother, my older brother, whom I love and deeply respect, he's quite liberal. He's a liberal attorney, my older brother. What are you going to do? So, but I love my brother, and my sisters cover every spectrum. So we have fascinating conversations at family gatherings, but it's always based on love and respect for each other. We listen to each other, and we can disagree. That's all right. That's cool. We're still planning the next family gathering. And I think that the American society, I think that we've been sold this idea that's false, good lady. And if I could fix anything in our country right now that we're not already addressing through policy and legislation, it'd be to just remind my fellow Americans that we are fellow Americans. That it's our lives and our heritage, our history, our culture, our blood that has woven every thread of the flag that waves in glory above us. We're bonded by our very spirit. And that which binds us is much more powerful than anything that threatens us. Any disagreement on this policy or that idea. So I think that America needs to take a deep breath, man. Just say, time out. You're my American brother. You're my American sister. I love you and respect you. We can have vigorous disagreement about anything, but we should never allow the forces of the world to convince us as Americans that we hate each other. I don't buy it. My family is living proof that our love and respect for each other is far more powerful than in any disagreement or party affiliation. So I am prayerful, ma'am, that our country will be able to just embrace that foundational principle that has carried our nation for 250 years and has been a bright light for the entire world, that we are Americans first, and that our future is quite bright, whether factions and forces of the world or from within our country try to convince us otherwise or not. We're going to work through our disagreements. We're going to fix our budget. We're going to balance our budget. We're going to have the most indomitable military in the world because we want war? No, because we insist upon peace worldwide. Your federal government should be partners with your businesses, not predators upon your businesses. Your individual rights, liberties, and freedoms should always be recognized and protected and preserved for the next generation. And these are the principles that I bring to my office and now in service to Terrebonne and Lafourche Parish. So I look forward to working with you individually on your specific concerns and projects. Many elected officials here that I've met with, either here in district or in D.C. So I look forward to individual talks with you. Again, I'm honored to have addressed you today, and I hope I didn't go too far over time. Good lady, I did, huh? That's what that, she went, yeah. Thank you all, God bless you.